Welcome friends to another session of finite element method for fluid dynamics. In the last session we looked at the method of weighted residual, and one of the special cases for that was the Galerkin method. So today we are going to go further on the Galerkin method, and which I said is the foundation for the finite element analysis. So we will look at a toy problem and illustrate the use of the method. So we want to start with the finite element method, and we will look at a toy problem. This is really a very simple problem, which is a linear steady and 1D problem, which is second order ODE. So we will try to look at the various aspects of how to solve this, and then of course we will generalize it later to more complex problems. So we first begin by defining the strong form of the problem. So the problem statement is that given a function f which is real valued and defined on a domain, a closed domain omega, this is real value, and some constants g and h, I would like to find the solution u, again which is defined on the domain omega bar, and it is a real valued function such that this solution or the function u satisfies a differential equation, and the differential equation is u comma xx plus f is 0 on the open interval omega, and it also satisfies two boundary conditions. One is a Dirichlet condition. So the Dirichlet condition is given as u1 is g, and the other one is minus u comma 0 equal to h. I am going to label this as the strong form of the problem. So let me explain why this is called a strong form. So u could be a field, for example it could be a temperature field, and you could derive this equation very easily from the steady state heat conduction in one dimension. So if u is the temperature field, f could be some kind of a source, a heat source term, and then there could be a boundary condition at x equal to 1, which is a Dirichlet boundary condition, it is on the temperature field, and then there could be a boundary condition on the flux, the heat flux, and that is on the derivative of the temperature field, for example. So an adiabatic condition would imply that h is 0, otherwise you have a flux that is specified here. So the challenge here is I have to find a u that satisfies this balance law, and it should also respect these two conditions. So this one here is a Dirichlet condition, and the one over here is the Neumann condition. Now it is possible that I may have had a different sets of conditions. For example, I could have had two conditions and both of them being Dirichlet, okay, one at x equal to 0 and the other at x equal to 1. I could have had these interchanged, that means the temperature specified at x equal to 0 and the flux at x equal to 1, and of course several other combinations. So implicit here is the fact that my omega corresponds to 0 to 1, and of course omega bar corresponds to 0 1. So the first one is the open interval and the second one is the closed interval. I must point out that it is only for convenience that we have chosen the domain to be from 0 to 1. It could really be anything. It could be from x equal to a to x equal to b, but this is just chosen here as a representation. So, we could now ask how many equations are these? Really speaking, this equation must be satisfied at infinite number of points. So, these are actually infinite number of equations, and of course, then at the boundaries there are these two conditions. So, please notice that the differential equation need not be applied at the boundaries, because we have these two conditions that would determine the solution at the boundaries. So, if this is my x 0 and 1, then this equation has to be applied on the interior of this boundary, and at the two boundaries I have these two conditions given here. So, the key thing to keep in mind is that this is called as the strong form, because we are satisfying the differential equation and the boundary conditions explicitly. If we used a method like the finite difference method, then it would begin from this form of the problem and approximate it. Okay. On the other hand, if we are interested in something called the finite element method, we will not start from this form of the equation, we will start from something which is called as the weak form of the problem. So, that is the next thing I would like to propose, is the weak form of the problem. So, for this, as we discussed in the last session, you need two sets of spaces. Okay. One space from which you get the trial functions, and the other space which has the weight functions. So, let us define them. So, two sets of functions, the trial functions which we are also going to call them as the trial solutions, and then of course, the next one is the weight functions. Sometimes they are also known as the variation functions. So, what are the conditions? They have certain smoothness requirements. So, both these would have certain smoothness requirements, and likewise this as well, the weight functions also, and that would depend on the problem that we are dealing with. So, I will explain you what kind of smoothness property we should have. The other is the boundary conditions. So, as far as the trial functions are concerned, they satisfy the normally, at least for this special case of problem that we are considering, the Dirichlet boundary condition. And in this case, there is only one Dirichlet boundary condition, and that would be u1 equal to g. The weight function, on the other hand, would satisfy the homogeneous version of the boundary condition satisfied by the trial function. So, suppose I denote the trial function by u and the weight function by w. Both are functions of x. This is a one dimensional problem. Then really what we are saying is that w at 1 should be 0. So, wherever I specify a value of u, the Dirichlet boundary condition, the homogeneous version has to be specified for w. If the boundary condition was at, the Dirichlet boundary condition was at 0, likewise the homogeneous condition for the weight function would also be at 0. For this particular case, we are going to take these smoothness requirements as following. So, the smoothness condition we will say that the function is, so u belongs to the class H1, that is u as well as u comma x are L2. So, the function itself and its first derivative should be square integrable. So, if you recall, what we are saying is that integral over the domain omega u square dx and integral over the domain omega u comma x square dx both should be bounded. And in fact, we are going to have the same condition for the weight function for this special case, okay, for the toy problem that we are considering. But if I consider another problem, then possibly things could be different. So, we will discuss this a little bit more as we move on. So, let me summarize then what this means. So, the trial functions their space belongs to the set S. This set S consists of all these functions u such that u belong to H1 and u1 is G. This is the space of the trial functions. What about the weight functions? These belong to the space V and they are functions W such that W also belong to H1 and W at 1 is 0. Alright, so I have got now two classes of function, the solution space and the weight function space. And as you remember, these were the two that were required for the method of weighted residual. So, the proposal is the following. The weak form is given as following. So, given f, g and h as before, I have to find a u that belongs to the solution space such that for all w that belong to the space V, I should satisfy this condition 0 to 1 w comma x u comma x dx. This is integral 0 to 1 w times f dx plus w to 0 h. And I am going to denote the weak form by this letter w in parentheses. Okay? All right. So, what we have proposed is a strong form and a weak form. The finite element method starts from the weak form of the problem, okay? And the finite difference method and several other methods, they start from the strong form of the problem. So, the idea is the following. This is still in the infinite dimensional space, that means there is no approximation, okay? And when we wish to approximate or get a solution that we can get in smaller resources, computational resources, then we will approximate these function spaces, and I would like to show that to you in a moment. But first things first, what about the relationship between S and W? So, we are going to propose that S and W are equivalent. Okay. So, this is the proposal, and now we are going to prove this. So, the equivalence of S and W can be shown in two parts. So, part A is if U is a solution to the problem S, then it is also a solution to the weak form of the problem. The next part of the proposal is that the reverse, that if U is a solution to the weak form of the problem, then it actually implies that it is also a solution to the strong form of the solution. Okay. So, we are going to show this now. So, the first step is the part A. So, we will assume that let U be a solution to the strong form, and we will try to show that it indeed satisfies the weak form also. So, since U is a solution to the strong form of the problem, that means it already satisfies U comma xx plus f equal to 0 on omega. And please recall, omega corresponds to the set 0 to 1, all the points that belong to the closed set 0 to 1. Now, what I will do is I will pick a W. Okay. So, I will choose a W from the set V, and these are very special W's. They have certain continuity requirements. That means the functions and their first derivatives are square integrable, and they satisfy the boundary condition as specified here, that W at x equal to 1 is 0. So, I will choose a W from V and multiply that W with this equation and integrate it from 0 to 1. So, I can certainly do this, W times U comma xx plus f dx equal to 0. Now, I take this first thing, the first term, and integrate it by parts. Okay. So, let us do that. So, 0 to 1, if I integrate by parts, I get minus W comma x U comma x, and the other term that I would get is plus. So, let's look at the integration by parts. So, if I do W U comma x, this is going to be given as W comma x U comma x plus W times U comma xx. So, this is the term that I am interested in. So, therefore, I can write W U comma xx dx 0 to 1, the integral of this would be given as integral of 0 to 1 W U comma x dx minus integral 0 to 1 W comma x U comma x dx. So, I am trying the same thing here. So, for this term W U comma xx, this is my first term that I get, minus W comma x U comma x dx, and then the other one is actually the integral of this. So, it would become W U comma x evaluated from 0 to 1 plus integral 0 to 1 W times f dx equal to 0. Now, kindly notice this term. This term I need to evaluate on the boundary. So, it has two parts. So, this is, if I write it down, so minus 0 to 1 w comma x u comma x dx, and this would be w1 u comma x1 minus w0 u comma x0 plus integral 0 to 1 wf. Since my w comes from the space V, so I must satisfy this condition that w at x equal to 1 is 0. So this term actually goes to 0 because I have chosen a w that belongs to the space V. And u comma x0 would actually be minus h because I have chosen that my u is a solution to the strong form, and the strong form already satisfies two boundary conditions, the Dirichlet condition at x equal to 1 and the Neumann condition at x equal to 0. So therefore, this would give me integral 0 to 1 w comma x dx. This would be equal to integral 0 to 1 wf dx plus a w0 h. And you can see that I have shown the part A, which is that if I start with u, which solves the strong form of the problem, then I can show that the same u also satisfies the weak form of the problem. So the proof is very simple. I just integrated this term by parts and then juggled around a little bit, and I was able to show the weak form. So the first part is done, that given that u satisfies the strong form, it also satisfies the weak form. Now we will try to show the second part, which is a little bit more tricky. So we will now assume that this is given to us, okay, and we will try to derive from this that this implies the strong form is also satisfied. Before I do that, I hope you are able to appreciate that I can do this for all w's. Okay. So I have chosen a w from a set V, and this set V in fact consists of infinite number of functions. They are all h1 and they satisfy a certain boundary condition, that means it vanishes at x equal to 1, but other than that there are really infinite functions.